You're listening to the Brian Crabtree Show on demand. Catch Brian live and local. Weekdays starting at 4 on Biz 1190. Replay at 9 p.m. on AM 920 The Answer. Details at biz1190.com. The Brian Crabtree Show. Brian's Business Spotlight. Brought to you by The Outlet Online. Save on all the items you need and want. And some you didn't know you wanted. TheOutletOnline.com.
You know, there's a lot of frauds out there. In this Business Spotlight, I want to start off with something that's really dear to my heart, which is trying to enlighten people to what you face when you go online to buy something, when you go into a store. Have you developed the feeling that no matter what you purchase, you can't trust any of the pitches? Like every time you take a product home, it never seems to do all of what they promised you. It could be a car, it could be anything. Well, there's a New York man that's sentenced in Atlanta for selling unsafe dietary supplements. This is a big market, multi-billion-dollar market. And I bring this up because you can have a health condition, whether it be testosterone, how to organically improve your testosterone. You could do a Google search for that, or it could be women's issue, the same caliber with hormones. And you go and try to Google that to get to some serious medical journals to learn about it. And all you get is a plethora of ridiculous sales pitches of crap that doesn't work. So when you get into the supplement market, most of it's bogus crap. And this man has been sentenced to 11 years in prison. Cheshin Paul Chan of Elmhurst, New York, but this was in Atlanta that he ultimately got caught, because New York, they just let everybody get away with everything. Then they export all of these criminals out to the rest of us to deal with. And he was selling unsafe dietary supplements, specifically he had a company called Wholesale Source LLC, and it had ephedrine alkaloids, which is a type of stimulant. They've even had some of these things, not this particular guy, that have basically antifreeze and and arsenic to some fairly unsafe levels because it's the way it's manufactured that ultimately this is a byproduct of it. But prosecutors in this case say that from at least July 2005 through August 2012, Chan sold supplements containing ephedrine alkaloids, even though the FDA investigators had already told him it was illegal prior to that. He did it anyway. They probably made a lot of money. People just keep doing this stuff to see what they can get away with. I remember my wife had this, and I think I talked about this. My wife had this extended warranty on her wheels on her car, wheels and tires. And recently we took it back into the dealership where she bought this thing. And best I recall, it was $1,780. I just remember it being quite a stout number. And she's got these low-profile tires, and so the rims can get bent. The tires can blow out with all the potholes on Peachtree. Our taxes go to something but not fixing the roads. And also, on top of that, you run across a curb and you scratch the wheels, and they'll spin them back out, these alloy wheels. And we take them in. She's got a couple of wheels that need to be spun back out and smoothed out. And this typically costs a couple $100, $250 at the dealership. And this warranty is supposed to have a $50 copay. And I know all of this because I talked about it with the finance guy at the car dealership. And he sold it to us. And then my wife, little Miss Priss there is sitting in there with, Bubba, the guy with his butt crack hanging out, or, service manager or whatever. Oh, little Miss Lady, that ain't covered on your car. That sweetheart, sweetie pie, it ain't covered. And I'm sitting here thinking, ain't this something? This is what happens because businesses in America, and I think this is why so many people that are in the middle class that are kind of moderate in politics, they kind of look at it and go, big business, evil, bad, rich people, bad and evil. And it's not so much just jealousy, but it's this kind of stuff that fuels the fire, because if you're not as sophisticated with business and purchasing and doing things, and even if you are, you still get sold a bill of goods from time to time. And you go to use a service or an insurance policy or a warranty that you've purchased. Home warranties are this way. I remember when we bought our condo here in Atlanta, they came up and said, well, it's limited to $1,500 on water-cooled systems. Well, if you're selling me a home warranty and the salesperson says, hey, Crabtree, buy these warranties here because this is the best one out there and it has extended coverage for all the things that cannot be covered by the HVAC system. And then you've got, pages of disclosures here. And the salespeople are going out here in front of groups in sales pitches, of real estate people or closing officials or real estate investors saying this is the best warranty because it covers everything. Buy the $75 add-on coverage, right? Plus the $495 you're spending for it. Then you have your air conditioner break. Oh, we don't cover that particular air conditioner. And they create this confusion so that you can't tell one thing from the other, good from bad, okay from terrible. You can't distinguish, and so you end up just becoming a commodity buyer. That's what's wrong with America in consumer products and services. Everything's been turned into a commodity because there's so many liars that make everything look the same. Oh, mine will do that. Mine will do it. And then we go out to buy it, and we just shop for price. And honestly, a lot of times just shopping for price anymore is a good idea. Because I go buy a car at a dealership, especially in a city the size of Atlanta, and I don't like that particular dealership for service. I just don't ever have to go back there again. I just go and buy whoever gives me the best service, and I find that most of them don't. So I just go from one to the other trying to finally get to good service. It's amazing what's happened to products and to services in our country this day and age. It's amazing that no one seems to care anymore. They just pass the buck off. I hope some of this changes as we build a little bit more business acumen over the years. One of the best things that I think will come out of the Trump presidency, regardless of the economics, is for people to watch if they take their ego hat off and their snowflake hat off, all the snowflakes, and they just sit back and watch and just take it in for a while. You don't have to like Trump or not like him. Just don't have an emotion about Trump for a while and watch how he goes about doing things. I mean, look at the spectacle right now. One of our great allies has been attacked. Another terrorist attack, which is ultimately the result of Obama. I mean, it's others, but it's Obama ultimately. Let me think about it. The early Iraqi withdrawal equals ISIS, equals an Obama fail in a big way, equals Putin is empowered, and he's now in Aleppo, the de facto defender against terrorism, not America, but Russia of all people. And then we end up with something very dangerous as we sit idle and watch Russia unfettered populate their army and their influence in the Middle East. And we're sitting here kind of like, ho-hum. I'm on the way out. And Angela Merkel, the leader of Germany, is partly responsible for it too. But had it not been for what George Bush warned us about and Obama withdrawing too early from Iraq, we wouldn't have ISIS at the level. I'm not saying we wouldn't have terror. We wouldn't have the level of consistent events and organized propaganda that we have. We wouldn't have Putin meddling around in the Middle East. We'd be the leader over there. Now, Putin is quickly gaining ground. We wouldn't have Aleppo in the condition that it's in because ISIS wouldn't have brought down Syria. We'd have Iraq more stable and ISIS would have no space there. At best, it would be disbanded little pods of non-congruent activity across the country, terrorist cells, but not a terrorist organization of tens of thousands. So what happens? The spectacle here. Just look at a businessman behaving. It's Christmas. Donald Trump is at Mar-a-Lago. In his vacation facility, in his business, in his second home, in Mar-a-Lago in South Florida. And what's he doing? He's working nonstop. Barack Obama took a 30-minute pause in his tea time in Hawaii after Germany's attack. It just doesn't look good. Now, I'm not advocating that you have to work 1 second over Christmas. But as a business person, which I've been for the better part of 2 decades, in addition to 2.5 decades of media and radio, it will be inevitable that I will work over Christmas. Probably almost every day. I'll be on a cruise ship doing some form of work, reading the news, prepping for a show I'm not even doing while I'm on vacation, dealing with some of the little ancillary creative stuff that I don't get time to do during the week, all things that are called work. But it only will be the stuff I really enjoy doing. That's what Trump's doing right now. Look at it. The people who succeed the most are the people who get over things quickly, even if they have an eruption. I'm eruptive. When they talk about Trump and the way he reacts to people who challenge him or talk about him, I relate to that. I'm not saying I'm like Trump, but that's a personality trait I have. If someone punches me, I punch back harder. And I'm never going to change that about me. Trump's never going to change that side of him. But if you look at all of these strong business leaders, other than people like Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, who ultimately, I'm not taking away the brilliance of what they created, but creating a website that goes viral to the tune of billions of people is brilliant. But it doesn't mean you have this incredible business acumen. It means you created something as a visionary that filled a huge hole or vacuum. I'm talking about the people that build functional businesses that endure decades. It's yet to be seen what happens to Amazon. It probably sticks around and continues to transform our retail sector in the country. I get it. I'm not taking anything away from Bezos and Amazon. Zuckerberg, it's been a decade, basically. I'm sure it stays around. I question, does Facebook at some point fizzle out, or does it become the new Google, or another kind of Google, like Apple is the new IBM sort of thing? I don't know. These things we don't know until it's 2 or 3 decades in. It's just not time yet. But what Donald Trump and people like him have done is they've consistently not listened to all of the people out there like me and the other media people that have an opinion about him, and they've just been who they are. And they don't run off to go vacation and sit on the rear end every time they get a chance, and they don't think it's just a job what they're doing. Barack Obama has treated the presidency like a job. Most of America has a job. That's why he's not held accountable for it. Think about it. A lot of us get into spaces at times and we go 5 days in a row. I don't like my job. I don't like the people I work with. I mean, you say this about the 8th floor all the time, producer Joey. I just go ahead. Love you guys. You're looking great, right?
Hey, how did you know I was going to go there?
Yeah, it's good. It's become a broken freaking record.
They're responsible for the mortgage payment being made in the Wensler compound. So
right, but
thank you
that's
guys.
got to be more than that, though. It's not just a job for some. Now, I don't begrudge anybody who has a job because they need a job, and they do their job and they do it the best they can, and they come in from 9 to 5, and that's what they do. And you do a good job and you keep your job, and that's your aspirations. I am not begrudging that. I'm not beating that up at all. But I'm talking about the people who have a career, whose job is never a job, whose life's work is a passion. Whatever they engage themselves into, they do it because they love it. They feel a calling. They have a purpose. That's where we all want to, at some point, aspire to. But that means that you're probably not watching your allies have a terrorist attack, or your people having problems, and you're out on the golf course every time there's a holiday for 2 freaking weeks. It just, to me, is bizarre. You know, speaking of this mall attack, I started Googling to see what data I could find, because I wanted to see what are the intelligence agencies saying about America. I mean, we've seen 2 things happen. We've seen mall attacks quite a bit across the globe from small terrorist operations, or cells, or lone wolves as they call it, which are directed or inspired generally by ISIS or Al-Qaeda. And we've seen this truck thing a few times, plowing a stolen vehicle through a crowd of people, because that seems to do a lot of damage in one fell swoop. And the question is how possible is that here? I mean, it's not going to happen during the inauguration. They're not going to get a tractor trailer or a lorry through the crowds of people, I don't think, in D.C. I don't think they'll get it by the time they got it anywhere near the crowds that were, the big crowd that'll be outside the Capitol building. So it's not those kind of events that I worry about, where there's a high level of security and a big national security presence. It's the events we don't think about, like the bowl games. There's a crowd of people walking after those bowl games, or the Christmas parades that may occur right at the end of the shopping season that's coming up this weekend, or leading into the new year, the ball drops, the peach drops of sorts across the country. It's those things that I think they're so large, and there's so many inflow streets to get in there, that I think there is a risk of this stuff. And so I started Googling it a step further because I wanted to present to you a collection of thoughts that weren't just random crap from Google, but something I think is credible information. And I don't know that what I'm about to tell you is credible, but this was a blog site of how do you survive an attack at a mall by a terrorist organization. And it says things like this: odds are you won't be there, but there are some things you can do to increase your odds of survival. Seriously consider doing your shopping outside the mall. Well, of course, if you don't go anywhere, you don't have to worry about getting plowed over by a truck. You can go to Amazon, not a whole lot, unless someone sends a package that'll be next, I guess. Then they say if you choose to go to the mall, if you truly have to do it, then choose days and times that a terror attack is least likely to occur, such as Sunday at 8 p.m. I mean, how do they know that? But they say this is their justification. The terrorist is likely to pick a day and time that the most shoppers are going to be at the mall, such as when the attack occurred. This is a good point. In Orlando, when the place was full, which is late at night or early in the morning when clubs are hopping. Then this one is interesting. I'm sure the left will love this point. How do you survive an attack by a terrorist group at a mall? Scan shoppers and look for people that fit either the description of an Islamic radical. Yes, you'll be profiling, it says, though it's not always effective. Or fit the description of a young hate-filled American from a counterculture or an anarchist. Now, what do they look like? A lot of them are the same protesters that show up in American cities and break windows, destroy cars, assault cops, and pedestrians. That's the crowd I'm referring to. Well, I don't know if he's inferring black people, but I don't remember the last time we had a black terrorist actually go into a mall and shoot people. It's usually either some crazy white kid like we had in Newtown, or it's somebody with a rag on their head. I hate to say it that way, but that's it. So the question here is, that's a painful thing to take in, right? I'm not against people because they're Muslim. What I'm against is the fact that we have let this go so far out of control that now what we have is we have these people from this part of the world, which happen to be some radical form of Islam. And now everyone walking around in a mall in America that's got a brain that's cognitive is going to walk in the mall and they see somebody with one of the garbs on, or who looks like one of these people as far as age and fit and finish, if you will. Those people are going to get double and triple looks. And let's say they are great, innocent American, patriotic Muslims. If that's possible, I assume it is. I know some that seem like great people. Then God bless them. I mean, look what they have to endure now because we can't figure out how to fix this.
I mean, there's clearly a better way here, Brian. You got to bring your pocket-sized Quran, keep it on you, and when they attack you with a gun, you say, no, look, I'm on your team.
Yeah, well, that's...
Same team.
That is a weakness. If they somehow think you are on their team, and that's probably what I would do. I would fake it.
Just be like Durka Muhammad.
I wouldn't look to play it, but I'd go, oh no, Allah Akbar. I mean, I would do it. I mean,
don't believe your pasty butt.
No, I would try it.
The albino Muslim.
I mean, what a better way, you know? Oh, come along. Can I help you? Do you have an extra gun? Pow, you're dead, you dumb idiot. Yeah, but that's what I'd try. Be better than being... At least I have a snowball's chance in hell.
Come meet your virgins.
I mean, what's it? God will forgive me for saying Allah Akbar if I'm about to get shot.
Sure.
So I've got a shot to get away or save some people. I mean, if you're about to die, lying is okay.
You might be sweeping up dog poop in heaven, but you'll still be there.
That's all right. I do it at home all the time. You know, that's what happens when you live in a condo with a Jack Russell Terrier. But that's a story for the wife to come on and talk about, not me. What are the top Atlanta Google search terms in 2016? What all of our audience searched for. And I'll tell you, it's something you wouldn't think about. I mean, you might think about it, but it really reveals that we woke up as a city.
Clear your browsers, folks.
Yeah, clear your browsers. This is, they didn't survey you because they would be like, you know, Debbie does.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Crabtree Show on demand. Don't forget to catch Brian live and local weekdays starting at 4 on Biz 1190. Details at biz1190.com.